I would like to thank the office bearers of the MTVEA Mumbai Diocese for giving me this opportunity to speak on the Lent meditation this year. The portion given to me is from Colossians chapter 3 verses 1 to 17. And I'd like to speak on the topic, Keep Seeking Christ. The first verse, chapter 3 verses 1, is the key verse for today's meditation. Since then, you who have been raised with Christ, set your hearts on things above, where Christ is seated at the right hand of God. In this passage, we see that Apostle Paul is asking us to set our hearts on things which are above, to concentrate on that. And that is the theme of our meditation, to keep seeking Christ. In that seeking, we will find Him and we will live with Him. And in that newness, in new lives that Christ gives us, we will find newness to our own life. So that's why I would like to base our meditation on that theme. We are all bound by sin, we are all bound by sinfulness, greed, lust, and different sins which bind us. And it is a challenge each and every time to look inwards and to look for Christ and to find liberation in Him and find newness in Him. I would like to meditate upon two thoughts for this today's meditation. One is new life in Christ. Verses 1 to 4, we find that it is the death of Christ. It is His death on the cross, and by His death and His resurrection that we find that even when we come close to His life, we also experience death to our own life. And with His new resurrection, we also find resurrection with Him. അപ്പോൾ അവനോട് അനുരൂപമായി ജീവിക്കുവാൻ ദൈവം നമുക്ക് പുതിയ ആഹ്വാനം നൽകുന്നു. Keep seeking Christ is like a marathon. It is a race. Always trying to match with Him, to go in that great race, seeking Him and always fixing our eyes on Him. There is a story about one pastor in Korea. His name was Pastor Kim. This Pastor Kim was a notorious gangster. The day he came to know about Christ, that day he gave a pamphlet around the market. The pamphlet says that Kim is dead. All the people in the marketplace rejoiced because he was a very notorious gangster. But next day they saw him standing in the marketplace with a Bible in his hand. People were shocked. One person went and poured a bucket of water on his head. He said, "Good for you that the old Kim is dead. Otherwise he might have broken your bones." What he is trying to say is that the old me has gone and the new me has come. It is because since I have known Christ, the day is the day when the old self has died and the new self is beginning to live. So that's why we are called to live this new life in Christ. Give up the old, give up all the sinfulness, and to try to find the great peace in who He is. Secondly, I would like to talk on the theme, put to death the earthly nature. Verses 5 to 11, it says that although we are living in this earth, there is a heavenly plane which we look up to. It is in that heavenly plane that every time we should always match our eyes to. Our eyes must look up to that. And there we will live a heavenly life. When we live in this earthly life, many things catch us: sexual immorality, impurity, evil desires, greed. This is all daily struggles of life. It is all idolatry. It is all greed. People feel that these are the things which we cannot avoid, but yet these are the things which we must avoid. We must fight and we must understand that these things have a great death grip on our life. Only when we find life in Christ can we find release from Him. It is release from this idolatry, release from anger, release from slander, that we find ourselves free from all these shackles which bind us to sin. So that's why at the base of all this, we find that it is Satan, who is the father of lies, who finds the great understanding to us that in this lies we find our great pleasure. But the more we sin, the more we sink in the sinking sand of sin. So that is why it is our call to be renewed in the image of Christ. Lastly, from verses 12 to 17, I would like to think upon the theme of clothe yourselves with God's nature. God's nature is when we give up the old, we will find the new. Clothe yourselves with God's nature. When we are clothed with God's nature, we are marked by compassion, we are marked by kindliness, we are marked by humility, gentleness, and patience. Compassion to the other. We find empathy in what the other person finds, and that is what we find in godliness. Kindness, doing good for the other. Patience, to wait for what God is trying to give you. There is a story about Saint Francis. Saint Francis, he was asked, what are the things that a person must do to find godliness? He says, humility, humility, humility. In the presence of God, we have to be humble. We are not the recipients of the great reward that we are living a great life here. We do not merit a good life here. Our life is sinful. But still, when we stand in the presence of God with humility, we will be clothed with a new presence, with kindness, with love, with patience, and with compassion. And this will bring us to peace and harmony, and the Lord will be with us. And this is all based on verse 14. It is based on love. The love for God is one thing which we have. Christ says, love one another as I have loved you. That love is what we are called to participate in, to practice in this time of Lent. And by these words, I would like to end my meditation. May God be with us and bless us. Thank you, God.